End Hunger. My name is Caitlin Peacock, and I am the Executive Director of the Tampa Bay Network to End Hunger, and we are proud to introduce the 11th Annual Sunshine Summit to End Hunger in partnership with Bread for the World and Florida Impact to End Hunger. I wanted to thank all of our sponsors, the Mosaic Company, Share Our Strength No Kid Hungry, and the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Tampa, for their generous contribution to help make this event possible. Also, we would like to thank all of you, our attendees, for taking the time to register and attend our virtual conference. We know that everyone is ready for in-person gatherings, as are we, and though we were hopeful this year would be in person, the planning committee made the decision in late July to continue with the virtual conference planning due to the spikes in COVID. But we are very much looking forward to our next member meeting, as we'll be in person, so look for details in your inbox soon. We are very excited for today's presentations. We have partnered with experts from around the local community and country to bring you the latest information on what's going on to end hunger today, bringing you topics ranging from presentations on new metrics on measuring hunger and the impact of solutions to food sovereignty and what that means for you. We hope the information shared today can help those of us that are here fighting to end hunger, providing new information and connections, knowing we are all in this fight together. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our Platinum sponsor and my dear colleague, Ms. Nikki Foster, Director of Public Relations for the Mosaic Company. Please help me in welcoming Nikki to the stage.
Thank you, Caitlin. As a Public Affairs Manager at the Mosaic Company, I'm honored to welcome you to this year's summit. We are proud to sponsor this wonderful educational event. We can find alignment with its purpose and our mission to help the world grow the food it needs. As a global leader in crop nutrition, we easily identify the connection of two of the world's most pressing problems: food security and an insufficient amount of quality water. We feel it's our responsibility to bring our financial resources and expertise to the table, fostering strategic partnerships with innovative organizations. In the communities where we operate, we seek to address these issues by concentrating on hunger, food insecurity and food system development, global agricultural development programs focused on smallholder farmers in developing nations where we have key stakeholders, agricultural research and education and extension programs, primarily focused on the balanced crop nutrition and increasing the capacity of the farmers to grow more food sustainably. We are ever mindful and responsive to the need to conduct our operations environmentally responsible, and it is essential to the sustainability not only for our business, but for the communities in which we operate. And with more than 100 years of experience in the industry, we have provided generations with the opportunity to live these values.
With every generation, we learn more about our environment, and we get better at protecting it. That's how it works at Mosaic, too. We help farmers grow more food on less land while learning new ways to restore wildlife habitat, recycle water, and generate clean energy, so that every generation does even better than the one before. Mosaic.
To everyone attending the 11th Annual Sunshine Summit this year, thank you for being with us. I wish you a successful and enlightening conference. I look forward to hearing about the latest policies, research, and program developments in hunger relief, locally, nationally, and internationally. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to our opening plenary speaker, Dr. Sharon Austin. Dr. Austin is the Director of Connectional Ministries for the Florida Conference of the United Methodist Church. During her professional career, she's had the opportunity to speak, teach, and preach throughout the United States and abroad, across denominational lines, and throughout the college and university community. In 1981, she made history as the first woman ordained in the 95-year history of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, home church and former pastorate of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In 1984, she became the first woman to serve on the staff of that church under the pastorate of Reverend Dr. Joseph L. Roberts Jr. She's been honored by sorority chapters and civic organizations, including a day in her name in the city of Atlanta. She holds a degree from Berry College, Chandler School of Theology, Emory University, and Barry College. After moving to Florida in 1995, and since joining the Florida Conference of the United Methodist Church in 1997, Dr. Austin has served 3 congregations. Again, breaking new ground, Dr. Austin was the first woman and first African American to serve all 3 congregations. Her leadership, ministry, and preaching are well known and implemented in the Florida Conference. In 2008, Dr. Austin was appointed to serve as District Superintendent of the South Central District by Bishop Timothy Whitaker. In 2013, Bishop Kenneth Carter appointed her to serve as Director of Connectional Ministries for the Florida Conference, later expanding this role to include Justice Ministries. She also serves as Interim Co-District Superintendent for the Gulf Central District, and this will continue until the end of 2021. She has served on the SEJ Committee on Investigation and the Committee on Coordination and Accountability, Secretary of the General Board of Discipleship, and the General Board of Church and Society, the convener of the SEJ DCMs, and treasurer of the Association of Directors of Connectional Ministry. She is honored to serve as the Florida Conference Episcopal nominee. This morning, Dr. Austin will be addressing How Do You Spell Resilience? Dr. Austin, thank you for being here, and it is a pleasure to introduce you. Now, without further delay, Dr. Austin, the floor is yours.
Resilience. A few years ago, I attended a board meeting held at a graduate professional school for persons who aspire to and feel called to serve in ordained ministry. This school is one of numerous graduate programs located at a prestigious Southern university nestled in an upscale neighborhood in a sprawling U.S. city. Following the meeting, one of our hosts suggested that we leave the pizza from lunch for students who were accustomed to passing through the lobby of the building and picking up the snacks and the extra boxed lunches, etc., left from various meetings. Good idea. We didn't think more about it. The next day, the host shared the message, which had been written on the lid of an empty box containing a note from a student, which read, "Thank you for the pizza. I did not know how I was going to eat dinner because I couldn't afford to buy groceries." Not the usual suspect, or was it? There is a perception of the face of hunger in this country. That face may be recognizable to you as a family member, friend, or neighbor. You may have been there yourself. When this is the face of hunger for us, it usually informs us differently. There is inherent value in their story, and in that story, we often listen and report that they fell on hard times, a company folded, employment was lost, or they experienced catastrophic illness. We want to tell their story because we believe that they are deserving of something better, and we want to acquire empathy. We can't imagine people speaking ill of them because they should have access to every possible resource. Yet, when the face of hunger is that of someone we do not know or care to know, or if we believe them to be different, or maybe more specifically, people of lesser value, we may not learn their names. We do not value their stories. And instead of being exceptional, they are assumed into a larger group of marginalization. They're a category, a mass of classification, and they become for us the usual suspects. Usual, normal, expected, accepted. These are terms whose meanings almost had no meaning before January 20th. The onset of COVID-19 threw normal into sharp relief. Listen to this quote by author, poet, speaker, humanitarian, social justice activist, and educator Sonia Renee Taylor. We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona experience was not normal other than we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. And so I say to you in response, we will not go back, we will not go back to normal. What is normal? In some respects, normal is the simplest manifestation of that to which we have become accustomed. It's the way we do things. Normal does not mean that we have done things the right way. Rather, normal or normative have just become the usual consistent practice or thought. Normal contains some bumps along the way, some real potholes, but for most of us, and those we know, we manage pretty well. That is until we recall the words of Sonia Renee Taylor. Normal never was. Our pre-corona experience was not normal unless we normalized greed, inequity, and for our work today and always, I would add, and hunger. Pre-pandemically, we normalized poverty. We normalized racism. We normalized hate. We normalized poverty. And as a result, we normalized food sovereignty, food scarcity, food deserts, food apartheid, food insecurity. We have normalized an unspoken way of thinking which in general assumes that the world is made up of the haves and the have-nots, where those who do not have live with and suffer from lack of food for reasons that they can overcome. Their fault, their laziness, the laws of nature, their lack of good fortune. As a cleric, I'm often in conversations, worship or other spaces where people discuss scripture. What does the Quran say about helping the poor? In Surah 8 or chapter 8 verse 4, the Holy Quran says, "And when other relations and orphans and the poor are present at the division of the heritage, give them something therefrom and speak to them words of kindness." In the Hebrew scriptures, we find in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verses 4 and 5 from the New International Version, "However, there need be no poor people among you, for in the land the Lord your God is giving you to possess as your inheritance, he will richly bless you, if you only fully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all these commands I am giving you today." And from the New Testament, Mark chapter 14, a portion of verse 7, Jesus says, "The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want." And finally, from Matthew chapter 25, verse 35, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink." Whether or not you are a person of faith, I hope that it is helpful to know that the three major world religions clearly speak to the realities of hunger and poverty and challenge us to address them. So how will we take stock of the exhaustion, the fear, the loss and grief brought on by a global pandemic and garner the momentum, the energy, the fortitude to face the recent past and present of a global pandemic? I remember the well-worn analogy of the car with the rear view mirror and the windshield. As we drive, we need the rear view mirror in order to see where we've been. And as we watch those effects diminish in size, and at the same time taking stock of those that may come up behind us quickly or on either side and catch us off guard. At the same time we are driving, we're driving forward. So we glance at the past, but we focus our sights on the future through the windshield, not revisiting what we've left behind, but learning from it. So here's the key from Seth Godin's Resilience and Tolerances. Godin is an author, speaker, bloggist, and entrepreneur. And he writes, resilience is the ability to move forward even when things don't fit together the way we expect. If the pandemic has taught us anything, it is that things didn't fit together the way we expected. Yet, if the pandemic has taught us anything, it is the fact that we live with gross inequities, where some people have enough and some people never have enough, where people have unfathomable wealth and people live in dire poverty. We have a system that is designed to perpetuate poverty for some and wealth for others, and the pandemic provided us with a day of reckoning. And so we live with the system we create and allow. Now, the United States doesn't generally have these vast wastelands that cause us to migrate to other countries looking for food and shelter. Although global migration is on the rise due to poverty and war and disease and famine. In the U.S., we're more likely to suffer from events that cause shortages of some foods or lead to higher prices. We have shortages of certain fruit and vegetable provisions during certain times of the year. But it is the choices we make, politically speaking and financially speaking, that allow some people to live consistently at or below the poverty line and to live with not only chronic hunger, but generational hunger. Some of our sponsors for today have heard my husband tell his story. It is the story of a child who grew up in a household with both parents and siblings and his paternal grandparents, a family of 9, a family that did not have enough to eat, a family where the parents were chronically unemployed, a family where my husband was asked to shop for the family's groceries because he was a strong academic student who could do math in his head and thereby stretch the family's financial resources as far as possible. He'd go to the store and the instruction was buy as much as you can for this amount of money. Now, he lived in a system that led to chronic health diagnoses. Both his parents died in their 50s, 2 siblings died in their 30s, and years later, 3 thoughts remained with him. Remembering that college was the first time in his life that he could have enough to eat every day, the reflection on and wonder about the lasting effects that chronic food scarcity and poor nutrition had on his and his family's health, and the lasting feelings of shame of having grown up as a hungry child in the United States of America. His story is replicated millions of times for families in this country. We have the privilege of listening and learning from experts throughout the course of today, and we will hear stories about hunger and food scarcity and the ways in which they can be mitigated. I will say this: no child should ever know shame from hunger. No family should ever feel shame from poverty or from homelessness of any kind. Why? Because we know the causes of poverty and we can fix them. There is a path forward. Now, I invite us to watch a video on the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park, which is a story about resilience. It highlights a number of lessons, including the way a system can collapse on itself over time, how losing sight of cause and effect ignoring those effects and allowing the system's imbalance to perpetuate can lead to widespread blight, and what can happen if we don't assume that the way things have become is the way they have to remain.
One of the most exciting scientific findings of the past half-century has been the discovery of widespread trophic cascades. A trophic cascade is an ecological process which starts at the top of the food chain and tumbles all the way down to the bottom. And the classic example is what happened in the Yellowstone National Park in the United States when wolves were reintroduced in 1995. Now, we all know that wolves kill various species of animals, but perhaps we're slightly less aware that they give life to many others. Before the wolves turned up, they'd been absent for 70 years, that the numbers of deer, because there was nothing to hunt them, had built up and built up in the Yellowstone Park, and despite efforts by humans to control them, they'd managed to reduce much of the vegetation there to almost nothing. They'd just grazed it away. But as soon as the wolves arrived, even though they were few in number, they started to have the most remarkable effects. First, of course, they killed some of the deer, but that wasn't the major thing. Much more significantly, they radically changed the behavior of the deer. The deer started avoiding certain parts of the park, the places where they could be trapped most easily, particularly the valleys and the gorges. And immediately those places started to regenerate. In some areas, the height of the trees quintupled in just 6 years. Bare valley sides quickly became forests of aspen and willow and cottonwood. And as soon as that happened, the birds started moving in. The number of songbirds, of migratory birds, started to increase greatly. The number of beavers started to increase because beavers like to eat the trees. And beavers, like wolves, are ecosystem engineers. They create niches for other species. And the dams they built in the rivers provided habitats for otters and muskrats and ducks and fish and reptiles and amphibians. The wolves killed coyotes, and as a result of that, the number of rabbits and mice began to rise, which meant more hawks, more weasels, more foxes, more badgers. Ravens and bald eagles came down to feed on the carrion that the wolves had left. Bears fed on it too, and their population began to rise as well, partly also because there were more berries growing on the regenerating shrubs. And the bears reinforced the impact of the wolves by killing some of the calves of the deer. But here's where it gets really interesting. The wolves changed the behavior of the rivers. They began to meander less. There was less erosion. The channels narrowed, more pools formed, more riffle sections, all of which were great for wildlife habitats. The rivers changed in response to the wolves. And the reason was that the regenerating forests stabilized the banks so that they collapsed less often, so that the rivers became more fixed in their course. Similarly, by driving the deer out of some places and the vegetation recovering on the valley sides, there was less soil erosion because the vegetation stabilized that as well. So the wolves, small in number, transformed not just the ecosystem of the Yellowstone National Park, this huge area of land, but also its physical geography.
The video reflects the story of a seismic and intentional shift in the ecology of Yellowstone National Park, a natural wonder that once flourished and, when a key element in the life chain was eliminated, became broken and desolate. Yet, because the system was resilient, the introduction of one component on the ecological chain The system was replenished and restored to its natural beauty and majesty. Resilience enables a system to be restored, to move forward. No one in the world should have to live with hunger, and we mourn and should work to eliminate hunger on every level, for every person, for every reason. It is egregious that a graduate student, a family, a friend, a neighbor we know, or the faces of the historically and systemically marginalized individuals in this country should ever be hungry, because we know the wealth and potential of this country, and that we find a way to do that which we deem to be important. In the closing moments of our time together, and whatever resilience means to you, I think we can acknowledge our learning and the opportunities we have to teach and learn from children. I was intrigued by the 7 C's, practical ways to build resilience in kids, by Dr. Kenneth Ginsburg. I think they work for adults as well. The first is competence. Competence is the ability to handle situations effectively. It is not a vague feeling that I can do this. Children become competent by developing skills that allow them to trust their judgment and make responsible choices. When we highlight what young people are doing well, but also give them opportunities to acquire new skills, they feel competent. Second, confidence. Confidence is the solid belief in one's own abilities. Rather, children gain confidence as they demonstrate their competence in real situations. Instead of focusing only on achievement, encourage the development of personal qualities like fairness, integrity, persistence, and kindness. Third, connection. Your unconditional love. Empathizing with kids' positive and negative emotions helps them feel known, understood, and adored. This emotional safety net gives them the foundation they need to express their feelings and work out solutions to their problems. Fourth, character. Whatever the specifics, children need a fundamental sense of right and wrong to ensure they are prepared to contribute to the world and become stable adults. This is character. It helps children become comfortable sticking to their own values and demonstrating a caring attitude toward others. Fifth, contribution. They gain a sense of purpose by seeing the importance of their contributions, and this can motivate them to take action to improve the world. They also learn that contributing feels good and is driven by a sense of commitment and responsibility, not pity. Sixth, coping. Children who learn to cope with stress effectively are better prepared to overcome life's challenges. Kids who can distinguish between a crisis and a relatively minor setback can avoid unnecessary anxiety. A wide repertoire of positive, adaptive coping mechanisms can also help kids steer clear of dangerous quick fixes for stress. When they're in crisis, strategies like exercising, giving back, practicing relaxation techniques, and sleeping and eating well can offer relief. And so, friends, here again, I emphasize the importance of food and nutrition. And finally, number 7 from Dr. Ginsburg's list, control. When children's decisions affect their lives, they learn that they have control. They see that they can do what it takes to bounce back after challenges. If parents make all the decisions, children may believe things happen to them rather than because of their choices. Children who lack a sense of control feel like their actions don't matter. They can become passive, pessimistic, or even depressed. But resilient children know they have internal control. They know they can make a difference. In the 1970s, a popular television commercial began to be advertised for Rolaids, an over-the-counter antacid. The question was asked, how do you spell relief? And several folks would then say, I spell relief Rolaids. If you remember that commercial, you're dating yourself. I'm not going to ask you to spell relief or resilience, but I am going to ask you to allow me to close with a quote by Sonia Renee Taylor. It is the rest of the quote we began earlier in this segment. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. I challenge you, friends, to be justice champions. We can do this work. We can do this work together, and we can do this work now. Stay strong and be encouraged.
Thank you, Dr. Orson. You always inspire me. Well, good morning, Sunshine Summit attendees. My name is Kim Johnson, and I am the president and CEO of Florida Impact to End Hunger. And I am so happy to be here with you this morning. I hope you are all doing what you need to do to be safe and stay well during this continued pandemic. We are all experiencing things that we have never, ever had to experience before. We all have experienced some type of loss, family members, friends, jobs, the freedom to come and go as we please, among so many other things. But 2022 is coming, and things might not ever get back to normal, but guess what? I'm hoping and I'm praying that things are gonna get better. Things are gonna get better, everybody. I promise you. We've all been making sure that our own families, children, grandparents have been okay. Our parents are all right. While at the same time, we've been making sure that our own families are just, doing all right. But guess what? I know that every single one of you here today have been working hard and advocating for the children and families that you serve. And you've been going day in and day night and hard. You've been working hard, making sure that that they're okay, that they're doing, safe too. You are incredible. If anybody hasn't told you today or yesterday, Kim Johnson is here right now this morning telling you that you are incredible. But guess what? While you're taking care of everybody else and everything, and I know that you are, I want you for a minute to just breathe. Breathe. It's time for you to do something really, really important. It's time for you to take care of yourself. I want you to practice some self-care. I'm not just telling you this because it's something that I'm supposed to be telling you this morning. I'm telling you this because it's something that I am continually trying to practice each and every day of my life too. You need to take some TLC. All right? By doing this, I believe it will teach you a lot about yourself. It will provide you with insight into what you need to be the best version of yourself. Self-care helps you better to be able to deal with your everyday life, all the things that are bothering you, all the stresses that you might have. But guess what? It helps you to be able to decide to do what you want to do, what's important to you. So what can you do to take some time and make sure that you look after yourself and prioritize your own wellness? I'm going to give you a couple of things that I do. All right. Try to set some clear boundaries at work and at home. So if you're at home, make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do to rest. All right. Sometimes you might need to take a break. All right. You're at that computer, you're on Zoom calls day in, day out. Take some time, give yourself a break. And if you're back in the office, you need to do the same thing. You need to get up. All right. You need to take a little break. Make sure you eat your lunch. Don't eat your lunch at your desk, because I know some of you are doing that. All right. Some of you haven't even had breakfast this morning. You need to you go ahead and get a break. All right. Get up and go give yourself another cup of coffee. All right. Get in the right mindset for your day ahead. While I'm learning this every day, seriously, I'm trying to start my day with a little exercise in the morning to help me get my bones going. Sometimes it helps me get my mind right. It helps me to remember what I need to do for that day so that I can be great. Be mindful of your news and social media consumption. Being overloaded over and over again with news that causes anxiety can have serious effects on your mental health. Skip the news and the scrolling on social media sometime. Take the time to be present with your family members, your kids at home. Listen to your favorite music. Put the device down for some time and just take a break. Make sure you get a good night's sleep. Sleep is the key to some balance in your life. I struggle with this. I'm going to be transparent. I have some trouble sleeping sometimes, but I do know that I do feel better after I do get a good night's sleep. So you all take the time to get some good rest and do what it takes to figure out what you need to do to make that happen. Lastly, engage in the activities that you like, especially those that you did before the pandemic. Know your limit, your comfort level, but get back out there. I know it's a little scary, but come on, you can do it. Let's do it safely. Take some walks, ride your bike, attend a concert in your local park. Find something that brings you joy. What I've had to learn about self-care over the last 2 years is that choosing it does not mean that I'm choosing myself over the people that I love and care about. It simply means that I am being mindful of my own needs. We need to be mindful of our own needs sometimes. For what? So that we can be better able to help others. So do me one thing for one last time. Give yourself a hug. Come on, everybody. Give yourself a hug. All right? Be the best version of yourself and enjoy the summit. Have a great day.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie Pace-Swigler, the Director of Membership and Advocacy for the Tampa Bay Network to End Hunger. Thank you so much, Dr. Austin, for your engaging remarks, and Kim for your fantastic presentation. It's such an important message for all of us to keep in mind. To all of our conference attendees and speakers, we are thrilled that you are here with us today. As a reminder, for the keynote session that you will hear at 2:30, please make your way to this area of Hop-In, which is the stage. You can come back to this area by clicking on the stage button on the left-hand side of your screen. We've had a last-minute change in scheduling, as sometimes happens with these kinds of events, and our keynote speaker that was scheduled for 11:30 will now be on at 3 o'clock. So we've got Florida Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Fried speaking at 2:30 here on the stage. And right after her will be followed by Dr. Craig Gunderson with the Baylor Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty. And he'll be speaking right around 3 o'clock, still on the same stage area. And we'll send you a reminder of that change in the schedule throughout the day. For the breakout sessions that will be beginning at 9:35, 10:35, 12:35, and 1:35, please head to the sessions button on the left-hand side of your screen and locate the session that you would like to attend for that particular time frame. You will see in the Sessions tab the breakout sessions specifically available at a particular time 5 minutes before that session begins. Please also utilize the breaks throughout the day between the sessions and between the keynote speakers and during our 1-hour lunch break to do some networking with other conference participants. You can click on the networking button on the left-hand side of your screen, click on the join button, and be connected to another conference participant for a quick 3-minute round of networking. Note that you have the ability to participate in chats and Q&As, both on an event-wide basis and in the individual sessions that you will attend. And these chat and Q&A features are on the right-hand side of your screen. Also recall that for the breakout sessions, you will be able to share your audio and video in those sessions so that you can engage in the discussion. Or if you would prefer to attend simply as a viewer, you do not have to share your audio and video, and you can share your questions in the Q&A and chat. Please note that for some of our sessions, they are moderated, meaning that the speakers in those sessions will need to admit you before your audio and video appears on the screen. Other sessions are open so that when you click on the Share Audio and Video button, you automatically appear on the screen. You can find the conference schedule by scrolling to the bottom of the reception page. Find this page by clicking the reception button on the left-hand side of your screen. And if you have any issues, feel free to note this in the chat and our behind-the-scenes team will respond. Or you can utilize the Hopin technical support team by clicking on the blue chat button in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And now, without further ado, we've got 15 minutes until our breakout sessions begin. So at 9:30, please make your way to the Sessions tab on the left-hand side of your screen. Find the session that you would like to attend for our first breakout session that will begin at 9:35. And in the next 15 minutes, take some time to network with some of our other conference attendees. We hope you enjoy. Thank you so much.